Hi, I'm Michael of M.O.D's Catering Services. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this episode, we are going to decorate our lovely 6-tier top forward cake. Our three base tier were just normal tiers. Our last three tiers were top forward. So let's layer our cake together. We had strawberry, we had cookies and cream, lemon, coconut, red velvet, and our last flavor. When it comes to wedding cakes, I'd love my client to explore the flavor options we have. So we layered our strawberry, we added our cookies and cream, but we sandwiched the first one with our strawberry filling cream. The second was chocolate and caramel. Then our third one was lemon. Then fourth lemon cake was also lemon again. Then we added our coconut, which was our fifth layer. We actually stacked all five layers together. We didn't want to. The last layer was coconut. We didn't want to end up having a cake being so tall. This is our 10-inch cake, and I hardly trim my cakes. If you know, you know. Unless I don't know, but I hardly trim my cakes for my fondant work or my ganache. So yeah, we were working with white chocolate ganache. Yes, I love working with ganache. That is me. I've been working with ganache for years now, and you know, if you joined our recent workshops we did, you know all the secrets and hacks to perfect chocolate ganache. So this is our white chocolate ganache, which is 3:1 ratio, 3 parts chocolate to 1 part cream. It's so easy. If you've been following me for long, I have posted a BTS or a tutorial on how to make your white chocolate ganache. Very, very easy, very, very simple to tackle. So we filled our whole cake with our ganache. We scraped, we did our sharp edges. We had to glue. We had to make sure our cake was perfect. I don't joke with my cakes and my edges when it comes to every cake I do, no matter the size, no matter the shape, no matter whatever it is that I'm working with. So we just worked on our cake till we got our smooth and clean edges to be decorated for our final cake. So with this cake, after layering out on our ganache, we did our first coating, which was very light. And our second coating was also not too thick because we wouldn't want to have a whole coat or a whole layer of chocolate ganache all around our cake. We worked on the edges, added our second coat. That is, it was a bit lighter than the very first coat we did. We smoothed the whole top and side. With it, we scraped the whole side. Then we had to refrigerate this till it was very firm. Then we had to come out with a very sharp knife. We worked and trimmed our very top edges. You know how we do it. We trimmed with our super sharp knife. Then we worked on the sides and top for the very last side before we rolled our fondant, covered the whole side, covered our sharp edges. Now, when it comes to making wedding cakes, a lot goes into it. We started this cake on Wednesday. We covered all our dummies which we're supposed to use for our cake. Then on Thursday we did this particular cake. And on Friday we did our beading and everything. Then that same Friday, the beading was right on Thursday. And on Friday I had a class, a private what was it called? A private cheesecake class, so I had to pause with everything. Then after the class, we stacked our cake. I was also streaming live, so you know how sometimes when we are working, we'll be streaming live. That was how we mostly work sometimes, so people can also learn during our live section. So after working on our sharp edges, we blew the whole surface, worked on the top, the sides a little bit to make sure we had a very smooth and sharp edge. I don't joke with my sharp edges, yes. That is me trying to get a super clean, super sharp edge. So we scraped one more time and then scraped the whole edges. We rolled our fondant. We were ever ready to cover our cake. I sprayed with water. You can choose to use vegetable shortening or white fat. So I rolled my fondant around my ganached cake, did my sharp edges with my fondant smoother. You have to press firmly and rub it against each other to make sure you are cutting your fondant, the excess fondant, and leaving it with super sharp edge. When you're done, you go in for your craft knife or your shovel. Then you make a super clean, super sharp edge, or super sharp, let's say, ends, so that it wouldn't be visible. We wouldn't want to have the back of our cake being too weird or too visible or too obvious that this is the back of your cake. No, we wouldn't want that to happen. So you have to make sure we smoothen it very well. Then we covered our very top. We have to work on our top. So when you're working on your top, trim the excess fondant. You wouldn't want to have a lot of fondant being excess at our very edge. After that, we cut it open. Then you open it up. You roll your last fondant. That is what you're going to use to cover your very top. Then you gently put it on top of it. Then here you go. You smoothen it out. Add a little bit of corn flour. Then flip it onto your main cake board. It should be very thick. Do not go in for a cushion type cake board. We have a cake board, after pressing for long, you realize it falls or it breaks inside. We wouldn't want such cake board, because the more you keep pressing, it goes down. The more you keep adding pressure, pulling or pulling the sides together to make your sharp edges, the board itself sinks inside. We wouldn't want such to happen. So after pressing together, we trim off the very excess, because we wouldn't want all those excess. Then with the little edge left, we are going to gently focus on that and make our super sharp edges. Super sharp, super flat. Sometimes it's a bit heavy and bulky. We wouldn't want such. So we press very firmly till it's very flat. And then we reach out for our shovel or our craft knife or our taste palette knife. Then we just trim the excess. Once we are done, we flip that onto our cake card. Then we are going to stack this together with our remaining 2 tiers. We had ruffles all around. So here we've stacked our beautiful 3-tier cake. Yes, that is our 3-tier. It was 10, 12, 14. 14 was our main base, 12, then 10 inches cake. Then our top forward cakes were all 10 inches. So here we had to drill. I wanted everything to be clean, everything to be neat. So we had to use my drill. I drilled with my drilling machine. We drilled through all our dummies. We made sure I got a super straight. I wouldn't want any unclean cakes. No, I want everything to be perfect. So after drilling, we just set it aside. We drilled our second one. Then we went in with our last cake. So we pushed in our threaded rod to make sure it will fit through perfectly without any problem. Then we had to reach out to our last one. We did our drilling. Then we started stacking them together. So we pushed the threaded rod through our dowel pipe. It didn't have any contact with our cake. Please, when handling with rod, and the rod was clean, filmed very well. We'll show you a video of that very soon. So we started pushing in our cakes. Our first top forward came in, followed by our very next one. Then came our very last one. So we had to make sure we've stacked this. We know what we are taking out there. We know what we are delivering. We wouldn't want any problem during our final stacking. So here we had to position the camera backward so we can have a clear view of the whole cake we were busy stacking. So we pushed in our second. Then our last one also came in. Then we have this lovely cake. We did a little bit of touch with our ruffles at the base. When we were done, we realized some parts were not really filled very well. So we had to add in a little bit more. Then I kept reading comments, answering them whilst we kept going. Yes, because I wouldn't want to leave any question unanswered during my live section. And here were some of the peonies we taped. So we had to add in a lot. We had to add in a lot of the ruffles were not properly filled, and we had to just fill them very well and make sure we have a very clean cake we're leaving outside. So here we taped, or we clean filmed our threaded rod with our clean film, wiped our table clean. The table was very dirty. We wiped it clean. We brought in our cake. Then we started arranging. We pushed in our dowel pipe, pushed in our threaded rod, added royal icing. Then we started stacking our cakes together. So the next time you have a top forward cake, you now have a fair idea of how to go about it. With this, you are very sure there's not going to be any problem. any cake moving up and down, front and back during reception. No, we wouldn't want that to happen. So we added our royal icing, pushing our second top forward. Then the same thing, added our third top forward. Then we started adding our beads. Initially, we were supposed to have a top forward cake looking all straight top forward cake, but you know me, and you know what I normally do sometimes when I get to the venue. That is when I start to change design. I was like, let me just turn. So we were like, let's do it straight. They were like, no, let's just turn it. So we all decided to just turn it and make sure some parts were facing left, some parts were facing right. So we have this lovely cake. Then we started adding accessories. We sticked it with glue gun. That is the best way to stick all this. Or you can either push in skewers to make sure you are securing your beads very well. The beads are not edible, no. So we added glue gun, sticked our beads. Then we started pushing in sugar flowers. That is our flowers. We added flowers to the side. All sides had sugar flowers. Then we came up with an amazing cake for our lovely customer. We didn't really know the client. The event coordinator hooked us up with this order, and I might say I am very thankful, I'm very grateful for such an honor. We executed. She was so in love with the cake. I am glad she loved it. I am glad the couples loved it, and I am glad we came up with something beautiful and simple. And we had a pre-cutout. That is 300 cutouts for the guests. Yes, we have 300 cutouts for the guests. The cake, it's not really difficult to do a top forward cake. I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's very easy. Once you get your structures right, you are good to go, and everything is going to look simple, and everything is going to come out perfect for you. Thanks so much if you've watched to this point. I am Michael of M.O.D's Catering Services. As I have said, we have a lot of content coming up this year, so never miss out. If you've not subscribed, click on our subscription button, subscribe. You won't pay a dime for subscription. Click on the notification bell, to get notified anytime we post new content. And if you have any question, you can leave them in the comment section. I will go through and respond to all your questions. Thanks so much for watching. Do enjoy and do have a wonderful month. And please, never miss any video from M.O.D, especially if it comes to behind the scene or a cake tutorial video, because you're going to learn a lot. So we decided to add gold leaves to our cake to just make it stand out. And here we have this lovely 6-tier top forward cake for our lovely client. Thanks so much. I'm Michael of M.O.D's Catering Services. Thanks for watching. Bye.